Accused criminals let out of jail under the county's new bail rules. A federal court ordered the county to change how it grants bail, but now there are growing concerns about whether some of these suspects are following even these new relaxed rules. Channel 2 investigator Robert Arnold first reported on the bond failure rate back in July. Tonight, he has updated numbers, and he's asking county leaders if something maybe needs to change.
He just started walking and just cussing and yelling and screaming.
Gail White doesn't remember exactly what started the argument with her then boyfriend, Robert Wayne Hill.
The next thing I remember is his hand going to my shoulder, and I felt his fist on my face.
White says when she finally saw her face in the hospital, she was so shocked she posted a video to Facebook to let her friends know what happened.
This is my reality, and this is not the way life is supposed to be.
Hill was arrested and charged with misdemeanor assault. Barely 24 hours later, White was shocked to hear from him.
He sent me a text message. I don't know if you're busy, but I want to speak to you.
Court records show Hill was released without having to put up money for a bond and before a no contact or protective order was in place, even though the chief of the district attorney's misdemeanor division says there was at least one witness.
I viewed this female being beat like no other woman he's ever seen beat in his life.
Beadle says once the case made it to his division, those protections were put in place. Hill was brought back to court in order to put up money for bond. But that was 7 days after his arrest. Hill's attorney tells us her client is not guilty.
And I don't understand the whole court process.
Hill was initially released under a federal court judge's order requiring most misdemeanor defendants to be released from the Harris County Jail within 24 hours of arrest, regardless of whether they can afford bail. That ruling came from a lawsuit accusing the county of keeping poor people locked in jail before trial while those with money got out. That same ruling also states if a person out on bond is arrested on a new misdemeanor charge or for failing to show up for court, they still have to be released within 24 hours. An example is Abdul-Jabbar Wiley. Court records show since June, he was arrested 5 times on charges of trespassing and burglary of a motor vehicle. Each time he was released without having to put up any money for bail. He was arrested again, this time accused of looting a liquor store after Hurricane Harvey. That is a felony, and he's now being held in jail on a $15,000 bond.
There are things that we could do to make sure that that failure rate is better than worse.
Since the judge's order went into effect, the failure rate for unsecured bonds is 36%, personal bonds 18%. Failure rates for bonds where a person has to pay before getting released are between 8 and 11%.
If someone has a better way of fixing this problem, they ought to go to court, make that case to the judge, and ask for those changes.
Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis argues failure rates don't tell the whole story because a person's bond can be revoked for showing up late to court. He supports the federal lawsuit and questions why the county has spent approximately $4 million fighting it.
We were locking up poor people and letting people out who had money.
The county attorney tells us it is preparing to ask the federal court judge to modify her order while continuing to fight the lawsuit as a whole. Now, you can read more about other arguments in this case under the Investigate section of click2houston.com. Robert Arnold, KPRC, Channel 2 News.